is it about energy, but it's about focusing and using your mind and your body at the same time to a more effective degree. And I'm sure, you know, if you've ever played any sport or anything, you know that that's true. So many people walk down here. My wife and I tried to walk, and it was a big deal for me to be able to walk again, you know, distances. What I used to do, when you're walking, usually your body, you're strong enough, but what tires you at the end of the walk is your breath. You know, maybe your heart rate's up, and it's getting harder and harder for you to walk. So what works is you do your small orbit breath, and to focus your mind and body together, let's say you're walking and you inhale, and you have enough air to, let's say, take 6 steps. So you inhale, and then you exhale 6 steps. Again, not straining yourself, but on the next breath, try to take 8 steps. And then 8 as you exhale. And you try to increase it. Again, not till you're gasping for air, you know, and you fall on the lawn, but just enough to where you're comfortable. And you'll find, like I said, with looking at your watch, you'll be amazed. You may only be able to inhale for 10 seconds and exhale for 10 the first time. And in a short period of time, you'll be amazed. It might be 30 seconds, 35 seconds. Maybe you take 15 steps, 20 steps, and then exhale another 20. And the important thing about this is that you're trying to take, you're using an increased amount, a decreased amount of energy and less air. You know how professional athletes, they breathe through their nose, like boxers, of course, have mouth guards, and they can't breathe through their mouth. Or long-distance runners, you're watching a marathon, at the point, they say at a point where you see all of a sudden they start to breathe through their mouth and they're, you know, taking deep breaths, that's when they're really losing their wind and they're losing their energy. So if you can more efficiently use your breath, you'll be more comfortable, you'll walk further, it'll increase your lung capacity, and it'll just be a lot less stress on your heart, you know, etc. All right, I had a cute story. When I met the fellow who's my current senior student, I met him in high school. I was 17 and he was 15. When I was in high school, I had 200 martial arts students. My father wood paneled our garage, and we had mats on the floor, and dressing room in there. And every Monday through, well, it was Tuesday through Thursday, I had 2 classes in a row. We had some of the teachers. I taught the cops in town. We had young kids. We had what we called the adult class, my mother and her friends. We had the girls class. That was great. It was all the best-looking girls in high school. And all of my students were, can I help with the girls class? And I had an 8-year-old student, Doug LaPrade, who's about this big. I said, no, Doug's going to help with this class. My current senior student, Matt, he was an incredible athlete in high school. He really was. He came to me, introduced himself, and he was an excellent soccer player. And he said, gee, do you think you can teach me to kick the ball further? I said, well, you know, let's try. So I met him when we went out on the field that afternoon, and I said, well, let me see you kick the ball. So Matt kicks the ball, and the thing goes, and it sails all the way past the goal and bounces off the fence. And I looked at him and I said, you know, well, I could teach him, but I really don't see the point. But that was the point where I realized that what I was learning in the martial arts could be applied to just about anything else. And this began the idea of my adapting the principles to other activities, and we've gone from there. And actually now, primarily what I do is I deal with patients recovering or patients waiting for their transplant. And, you know, there's very little, this is actually some of the first times I've mentioned striking and this and that. I just don't really do that anymore. But the principles are adapted to people getting well and staying well and getting stronger. And, of course, if you're breathing and you have a direction, you don't have the frustration when you're ill and when you can't, when you're trying to recover. You feel like you have some increased control over, you know, your own recovery. You're proactive in trying to get better. So that's really where the new book and this information is being put to use. I think we'll skip that demonstration I had in mind. But aside from the obvious physical benefits of these exercises, like I said, the impact on your confidence and your self-respect, it's dramatic. when you're ill or when you're not feeling well, you're just home with the cold or the flu, you just feel like you have no control over, everyone's making decisions for everyone around you. So you want soup, you shouldn't be doing this, are you hot, are you cold? And in the hospital, it's worse than anything. You just, you have no say. They tell you when to do this, what to do that. And I said, to get some of that self-respect back, to be proactive in your care, starts with the idea that your mind moves your body. If you're in the proper frame of mind, you're going to recover quicker. If you're positive, if you say to yourself, well, I'm going to get better, there's no question about it, this is a way to start. The idea that I have some control, and it starts with something as simple as breathing. Just like any involuntary act, such as blinking or swallowing, they're all also voluntary. You can decide when to swallow, you can decide when to blink. Well, activities that are not generally thought of as voluntary, such as the beating of your heart or your blood circulation, you can be altered and trained, and you can directly affect this process through the breathing techniques. And again, the idea that your mind moves your body. And you should experiment with these ideas. Try things. That's what I did. You have lots of time. And aside from watching like Law and Order marathons for 6 hours on a Saturday, you really, especially when there's only 8 channels, you have to find ways to not sit there until they tell you to go home, or not lay in bed for 6 or 7 days. Get in the kitchen and open the can of soup. Take the walk. Be more proactive. And like I say, look for ways in your daily routine to practice these things. For example, you can work on, you just individually take any one of your senses and you think of a way to heighten it. At one point, when I was very active in the martial arts, we did a lot of demonstrations, a lot of groups, schools and things, and we used to do blindfold defenses. One of us would be blindfolded, and obviously without your sense of sight, you have to rely on your other senses. You hear people coming, you hear their footsteps, this type of thing. So you look for other ways, practical ways at our age and in our life to use this. For example, to heighten your sense of sight, there's a technique called a twofold gaze. It was originally designed by warriors, by fighters in the martial arts. And the idea is to see close objects as if they're far away, and far away objects as if they're close up. Like, again, back to the martial arts, if you're in a battle with multiple attackers, where do you look? You look everywhere. If I look at one person here, I don't see this person over here. So by directing your attention to one area, as I said, you fail to see the bigger picture. So let's try this. So you relax, you're going to do your breathing. And you look at me. So you relax and you in through your nose and out through your mouth. And I want you all to look at the window or something over there. Look as far away as you can. And without looking at me, like, well, what color tie am I wearing? Okay, look past me, but you'll see it. Okay, and if you've got that easily, let's say you're looking past me, relax again and inhale. I'm looking at the exit sign, and my wife is smiling, and the fan over my head is going. How many fingers am I holding up without looking at me? Right, great. Or, okay, how many? 2 hands looking past me. Right? Okay, so this is a twofold gaze. Seeing things far away as if they're close up. And this is something you need to practice. And we used to do this with students. They'd all stand around. And again, if everybody is like, who has their right hand up? Who has their left hand up? If you look at one person, you don't see everyone else. This comes in handy in a lot of ways. Like, for example, another way of practicing this is that you're sitting just inside your garage. Okay? Like my father did all the time here. Right? You're just inside, and you're sitting in the lawn chair. My mom's there, right? Sitting there, watching everybody go by. And you're gazing out at what my wife and I call #1 Happy Street. Okay? And this Steve Martin movie, right? Look to the furthest point, and as, let's say, a car